Alrighty, so we've got our single leg heel elevated hip thrust or unilateral. So with this, guys, it is the exact same as the heel elevated hip thrust bilateral or both feet. If you'd like to see that, because potentially you are finding this a bit too difficult, I'll have it attached just here and also in the show notes. But as I said, guys, this is a unilateral movement or single leg. Now, if you've got an asymmetry, so one hamstring is stronger than the other, you are going to pick that up in this movement. I know you hear the word hip thrust with this as well, and I said this in the bilateral movie, but with this movement, guys, although it has the word hip thrust in there, we are targeting the hamstrings. That's not to say I want you to let the glutes switch off, not at all, they are still super important. I want you to think about all your normal cues for a hip thrust. However, it's just our setup and foot placement, which is going to be a little bit different. So, when we go to set up, guys, we want to make sure that we're not at 90 degrees to the bench. And what I mean by that is you'll see that my legs, my quads and hamstrings are running kind of on this 45 degree, and then my feet are up on the bench. Now from here, guys, because it is a unilateral movement, what I want you to focus on, this will be my working leg, is keeping those toes pointing straight up to the roof. The reason for this is we want to promote as much hamstring as possible, so being our bicep femoris, the outer part of the hamstring, and then our semimembranosus and semitendinosus, or the semis, the inner or medial part of the hamstrings on the inside, we want to promote those as well. And we can do that best by keeping the toes pointing straight up to the roof. Our leg that isn't working, or the upper leg, will be staying up in the air. So you can keep that straight. And basically what I want you to think with this leg is we're trying to touch that heel to the roof. If you've got a slight bend in the knee, that's also fine as well. Now, standard hip thrust setup, we want to make sure we're always keeping those elbows on the 45. We've got our shoulders set down, our lats are on tight, the core is working nice and tight as well. Now, as I said, we're trying to keep these toes pointing straight up to the roof. We then go through our hip thrust motion. So you're going to notice, guys, that potentially you may find that your foot wants to drop out to the side. Make sure that we're keeping those toes driven up. From here, I'm starting to feel that whole hamstring light up. One big thing, especially in this unilateral movement, guys, is keep an eye, look through your peripherals on what your hips are doing. If you're coming up and you're internally rotating or externally rotating, that could be a bit of an issue and an underlying stability problem that we need to work on. But as I said, that was our unilateral movement, a single leg hip thrust, single leg heel elevated hip thrust. You're going to notice if you've got a difference between either leg team, so do keep that in mind. If you do notice that there is an imbalance or asymmetry, I would highly recommend starting on the non-dominant leg and then moving to the dominant leg. If in the program it's got dictated a certain amount of reps, that's fine, or you might work until technical failure or fatigue of the non-dominant leg and then move on, mirror the reps on the dominant leg. So we really want to try and bring that asymmetry out of our hamstrings.